Hello and welcome back to On the Road Adventure. You join me here in Devon in this stunning estate with a beautiful classic motorcycle. This isn't an old classic motorcycle, this is the brand new Royal Enfield Classic 650. Royal Enfield have hit the nail on the head with this one. It's a beautiful machine. The Royal Enfield 350 Classic was so popular, lots and lots of people loved those. Those bikes have so much character, but for me and many others, they were just leaving you a little wanting when it comes to power. Well, Royal Enfield have dealt with that, and they've put their brilliant 650 lump in this. But does such a classic looking, vintage looking motorcycle have a place in today's modern day market? Well, let's have a look around it, we're going to review it, and I'm going to take it for a ride, and we'll see what we think. Well, whether classic motorcycles are your thing or not, you have to agree with me, this thing is a looker. It's hard to believe, looking at the features of this bike, that it is a 2025 motorcycle. This dash sums up this bike really well. It has the classic analog dials there with the vintage style look, but next to it we have Royal Enfield's Tripper app, so you can still use turn-by-turn navigation and connect it to the app on your phone. So it's the perfect mixture really of old and new. I love this chrome cap on the modern LED headlight, but paired alongside it is these vintage style running lights and the older traditional style indicators, and it just looks the part. Down here we've got a bit of an old friend now. This is the Royal Enfield 650 Parallel Twin. It's an amazing engine. It's in so many of their bikes now. It shares the same engine as the Interceptor and the Meteor and a few of the others on the Royal Enfield range. And to be honest, it's one of those things, if it isn't broke, why fix it? The power delivery with this engine is so smooth. It's such a joy to ride. It really is a peach of an engine. If you've not tried one, you need to get out and get on a Royal Enfield and take one of them for a spin, because the difference between the 350 and this is day and night. The paint and styling of this bike is absolutely on point. It's really glossy, it looks really nice. The decals they look like they've been painted on, to be fair. There's none of that sort of like orange peel effect or anything that you see sometimes in a poor quality paint job. It's really, really nice. And I like the attention to detail as well on the looks of this bike, because it's what it's all about. They haven't just left this cooler here exposed, you know, they've put this really nice cover on it, colour matched to the rest of the bike. And as beautiful as the paintwork is, you have to appreciate not only how good this engine is in terms of running, but doesn't it look stunning? I really love the chrome exhaust system and even these engine cases as well. The detail here is just beautiful. And equally, the chrome finish on the inside of these wheels give a real touch of class. It suits this bike perfectly. So we can agree that the bike looks absolutely fantastic. It's a proper eye-catching machine, and I'm sure no matter where you park this, there's going to be a lot of people coming up to you wanting to talk to you about it. So let's have a look at the stats and see what the numbers say about the bike. So firstly, we've got that inline twin-cylinder 4-stroke engine, 648cc and about 52 newton meters of torque at 5,650 revs. It's got a 6-speed box and of course chain drive. It's got twin shocks at the rear and 43mm telescopic forks at the front. The seat height on this one is 800mm and the bike weighs curb weight 243 kilograms with a fuel capacity of just short of 15 litres. For brakes, we have up front a hydraulic disc brake, a 320mm disc with a twin piston floating caliper, and again on the rear, hydraulic disc brake with a 300mm disc, twin piston floating caliper. Now, something that seems to come along with Royal Enfields and Royal Enfield ownership is customising the bikes, and I think this one's not going to be any different. And I really like how they've set out to make this bike suitable for as many people as possible. And looking at the rear of this bike, we've got these amazing seats. This is the most padded, comfortable seat I think I've probably ever sat on any motorcycle. I really mean that. It's like sitting in an armchair. We'll talk more about the ergonomics and riding position in a minute. But on the back, we've got this, again, really thick, comfortable pillion seat, which can be removed. And you could use this underneath as a luggage rack. There's an Allen bolt at the back of here, and you could just remove this whole seat. But if you prefer a single seat option, you could remove this entire subframe completely, along with the seat, and just have a single seater. But if you do carry a pillion, you do have these really nice large bolted on grab handles for them to hold on to as you go. When it comes to practicality, Royal Enfield are on it, and they've even supplied from standard this nice centre stand, and that's going to make life very easy when it comes to cleaning the chain. So let's see how easy this centre stand is to use. Wow, a doddle. It just makes sense to have something like this. If you've got a chain-driven bike, nobody wants to be pushing it around the car park trying to sort out the chain, or messing around with wheel rollers and things. It's something that should be thought about, and clearly Royal Enfield have. So up front on the dash then, we've got obviously the steering lock, off position on the key and on. Let's power that one up. Really nice, clear, easy to read analog dash there, nothing more than you need. Got your warning lights along here, and then we've got a digital LCD screen there as well. And on that one we have the miles. This bike's only done 14 miles and I've ridden it here, so I am the very first to ride this bike. We have trip 1, trip 2, tells you what gear you're in, what time it is, and the fuel. And to the right of that we have the Royal Enfield Tripper, which is a fantastic app you can use on your phone, and it will use Google Maps, and you can get turn-by-turn navigation on there. So nice and simple, not too distracting, just enough to get the job done. Everywhere you look on this one, it just feels like a touch of class. On the last Royal Enfield I took out, I commented on the black surrounds here on the switchgear, which is really nice polished, black gloss. And on this one we've gone for the chrome. And I'm sure I said last time, every Royal Enfield I take out, it feels like the quality is improved on the previous model. And I think that's fair to say again on this bike. We've got the lovely traditional rotary style switches here. Your lights, your indicators, your horn. And on the right hand side again, your push starter and your hazards. Really nice affirmative click on all of the switchgear. Everything just feels as it should, And we've got that classic style petrol cap there, and a lovely polished chrome as well. The Royal Enfield Classic comes in 3 different colours. This is the teal one. Now it seems that each different colour has a different price. So the teal one is $6,599. There's a vellum red one, that's $6,499. And then there is the really beautiful black and chrome one, the top of the range, which is £6,799. Well, I reckon I could stand around looking at this bike and talking about it for some time, and I suspect if you buy one, you probably will be. But let's jump on it and go for a ride, and let's see if it rides as good as it looks. Now, probably one of the first things I noticed about this bike is the second that I got on it to sit on it, it feels much higher than it should. The seat height is only 800, but I am sat on this seat now almost tiptoes both sides, and I think that is because the seat is so wide. It is a big, comfortable, padded seat, but as soon as you're on board of this thing and you sit back, it's like leaning back in your favourite recliner. Honestly, the sweep on these bars coming back means that I'm not leaning forward in any way, and it's just probably one of the most comfortable bikes, honestly, that I've ever sat on. It's a really strange thing. I love how this retro style cluster here is right out in front of me where I can see it. But it does feel like it's a long way away. I think because there's no screen here, it feels like a big open space, and that's really nice for pottering around, especially on days like this, in places like this. All right, let's start her up then. Enough talking about it, and go for a spin. So as I say, a really nice smooth burble coming from this 650 parallel twin. It sounds like such a sweet machine, and it really is. And like all of the other 650 twins that I've ridden from Royal Enfield, that power delivery is so smooth on this. There's no bite on that initial go, you know, there's no on off on the throttle. It's just beautiful right from the very start. This bike's got so much style and so much class. As soon as you look at it, I feel a bit like I'm underdressed here riding in my jeans and jacket. I feel like I should be in my best Sunday shirt or something. I haven't ridden this very far yet, but I already know I really like it. So something about Royal Enfields, all Royal Enfield bikes that you get on, there's no messing around, there's no gadgetry or electronics and things that you don't understand. All the switch gear and everything is exactly where it was on the last bike, you know, where they left it. They found where it works, everything's in a sweet spot, and they just leave it alone. And, you know, that just makes sense to me. There's no need to mess around with these things. The bike may look classic and look like a vintage style, but you go up through the gears on this in the most smooth, behaved, well-mannered way. And you can tell right away that it has got plenty of power, as you would expect. It is that 650 engine we've all come to know and love and respect now so well. Now, of course, this is a naked fronted bike. There is no screen there, so you are going to feel the wind of it when you're riding this one. But I'm guessing if you're buying a classic style bike, you are probably not buying this to do massive motorway miles or to go racing around, and therefore that's never ever going to cause you a problem. However, I am certain that Royal Enfield, as they always do, will come out with a plethora of extras and aftermarket parts that you can fit to this. And of course there'll be other third-party companies as well, no doubt, making aftermarket parts. And I think the custom scene on these bikes is going to be massive. These lovely chrome mirrors here, the round classic style, looking fantastic. More importantly, they're really good. I can see everything is a nice long stem, so I can see straight over my shoulder with a good field of view. The mirror isn't vibrating and moving around. And speaking of which, nor is the entire bike. It is incredibly smooth. There's no vibrations at all coming through the bars or through the pegs at 40 miles an hour. Settled down at 50 miles an hour now in top gear. The bike is just trickling along. Very happy and content. But you can also be happy and content in knowing that if you need to, you can drop a gear and it's going to give you a real shunt of power, and you can move away if you require it. Handling feels fine with the slightest of input, going through the corners and turns really nicely. So the bike does feel very planted and goes exactly where I put it, and that's probably because it's got a little bit of weight to it. A reassuring 248 kilograms, I believe. Now, I would say that the Royal Enfield 350 was very popular, perhaps with some of the older riders, and I wonder whether this 650 is going to appeal to younger riders as well. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's actually thinking about doing his direct access and getting himself a motorbike license, and we were talking about this and what bike I might recommend to him. And Royal Enfield is something that came to mind very quickly, and I'll tell you why. It's simple, it's going to be easy to maintain, there's not too many electronics and faff and gizmos to, you know, to become overwhelmed with, or indeed to get wrong. There's a lovely amount of power there. It means that you're not going to get bored very quickly, but also it's not really snatchy, and you know, it's not going to get you in lots of trouble if you make a simple mistake. It's a very forgiving motorcycle to ride. In a world full of technology, gadgets and screens, it's kind of nice to be on something that feels so different. It's almost been so long since we've seen this style, this look, that it almost feels new. They say that fashions and trends go round in circles, and I think the more simple, aesthetically pleasing style of machine is definitely coming back round. If you're a Sunday plodder going out to join your friends to ride in the English sunshine through the countryside, I cannot think of a better machine to choose to do it on. And even better, if you're like me, if you really enjoy spending time in your garage, cleaning your bike and polishing it, this is going to be no more rewarding bike than this. Because this is a bike that you want to be looking nice every single time you pull it out of the garage, because believe me, you are going to be stopped and people are going to want to talk to you about your beautiful Royal Enfield. Well, what a couple of years it's been for Royal Enfield. They're really treating us to some fantastic bikes. They're not going too far with the technology and this sort of showmanship and, you know, one-upmanship that most other brands constantly do. It's like they've got this magic, this material that just seems to work, and they just reuse that over and over again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That makes a lot of sense. From this beautiful classic style bike, you know, that you could look at and it's just a joy to ride, over to bikes like the Royal Enfield Himalayan, to which you could take out and get dirty, is a bit more rough and ready. And the Interceptor as well, that one's been out a long time now, but it's still a beautiful looking bike if you ask me, and just begging to be customised. And along with that, of course, we've got the Meteor as well, sharing the same frame with this one. They're really killing it, Royal Enfield. No wonder you're selling so many bikes. On the last Royal Enfield I rode, there was a lot of talk about suspension, and people seem to have some complaints about it. I'm not really sure what they are. Yes, okay, it is a fairly firm ride on this bike, but that provides beautifully planted handling. It's such a joy to ride through these corners. It's so stable, it's exactly what you want. You don't need huge travel suspension on a bike like this. You're not taking it off-roading. But they are shower forks up front. You know, this isn't really cheap basic kit, and yet they're managing to knock these models out from about £6.5 grand. Long may it continue, Royal Enfield. Well, that brings my ride review of the Royal Enfield Classic 650 towards a close. I'd like to thank our friends at CMS Exeter. They're the local Royal Enfield dealership in Devon. They've been around for a long time and are very well known. Been kind enough to let me take out this brand new Classic 650, and I'm sure glad I have. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on the Royal Enfield. Is it something that's interesting you yet? Is Royal Enfield getting your money? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, love you, bye.